My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor in South Central Alaska, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching you in real estate. The purpose of today's video is to talk about the top things that only happen in Alaska or happen more frequently in Alaska. So this is definitely a list I've compiled after having lived up here for a number of years, so I'm excited to share that with you. Before we get started though, do make sure you give this video a like, do subscribe if you haven't done so already. And without further ado, let's go and jump into today's video talking about the top things that only happen in Alaska. The first thing that I would say is that if you are in the US, you're probably not going to be seeing a whole lot of the northern lights, and certainly not as much as you do in Alaska. They are absolutely beautiful if you're in kind of the south central area, closer to the city. They might be a little bit more difficult to see. You can certainly go a little further north to places like Talkeetna or Fairbanks. There's going to be a little less light pollution out there. You're going to be able to see them more clearly, but even with city lights, you can still see the northern lights just fine if they are, out in force and really putting on a display. So that's number one, northern lights. The second thing that you can only really see in Alaska is the Mini Winnie Parade. So for those of you who don't know, the Mini Winnie is a camper that gets rented out to people, and with all the tourism that we have up here, a lot of people will fly up here or drive up here, get one of these little Mini Winnies and just go tour the state. And if you're on the highway during the summertime, you see a ton of these vehicles just all over the place. And usually people are just fine, and other times it's obvious this is the biggest vehicle this person has driven and they're not necessarily 100% comfortable. So yes, it keeps everything interesting during the summertime. Absolutely love the tourists, but yeah, I swear they're trying to kill us sometimes with those Mini Winnies. So that's number two, the yearly Mini Winnie Parade. The third thing that you're only going to see in Alaska is the Iditarod. Yes, you heard that correctly. The Iditarod is a race. It is an actual event, and it's run every year up here in Alaska. It's a big deal. They have Fur Run D, and they have all these specific winter activity events that you can go, compete in. Obviously, it's all in good fun. Nobody gets too serious, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. Highly recommend it. If you've never seen the start of the Iditarod, not a whole lot of people have, and you definitely owe it to yourself to go see it in person. Like the dogs are just, lunging against their harnesses because they are revved up and ready to go and psyched up and ready to do this. And what's awesome about this is once they're done, they get a little bit of a rest, like I'm talking like a couple hours, they're still psyched up and ready to go. So awesome animals, and you need to get out and see the start of the Iditarod at least one time in your life. Fourth thing I've seen in Alaska that you can really only experience here, I'm not sure how much you guys have this in other states, but up here, you can actually have some doors that don't latch as well during the wintertime, or maybe they couldn't latch during the summertime, and suddenly they're latching really well during the wintertime. And the reason for that is because the ground, once it freezes, it's gonna have a little subtle amount of movement. Not a whole lot, like it's not gonna be like an earthquake just shooting your house up or anything crazy like that. But frozen ground is gonna settle a little bit differently. It's gonna sit a little bit differently than thawed out ground. And if you have, door jambs that were struggling before to close, just wait, it's probably gonna be during the wintertime. Not gonna have the same problem. I got that on a couple doors myself. Fifth thing that you can really only experience here in Alaska is the abundance of glaciers and lakes that are nearby. We've got lakes and we've got glaciers all over the place, and it's great if you've got a paddleboard and, like, let's just say you like river rafting, you've got all the runoff from the glacier as well, and just make sure that your river rafting skills are up to snuff and you're not going to get washed off, because that water is cold, and yeah, you don't really want to do that. But yes, glaciers all over the place. You can go hiking around them. You can really just do some sightseeing, just appreciate just how big those ice fields are, and really just appreciate just how easily accessible and abundant they are. let's take a break here real quick. For those of you who have been watching for a while, you know that I do host the Alaskan Journey podcast in addition to the Alaska Realtor YouTube channel. And in that podcast, I do interview people who currently live here about their experiences and any tips and tricks they have for people who are moving up here. So if you're serious about exploring this and seeing if Alaska is going to be a good fit for you, it really makes sense to hear from people who are currently living here and see what they think. So go check that out. Link for that is going to be in the description section down below. And also, if you're considering moving up here, do make sure that you reach out to me on my website. Description is going to be down below, and in the relocate or in the comment section, make sure you say relocation guide so I know what to send you. Now, let's go and finish today's video. Now, for number 6, is you are going to see a lot of wildlife just right there on the side of the road as you're driving by. I'm sure you get that a lot in other states, but the amount of wildlife you see up here just from the side of the road is, I'm sure, second to none. I mean, we've got moose, we've got caribou, we've got bald eagles, we've got bears. I remember one time just driving through Eagle River and there's just this black bear just running along as fast as he could like a stray dog. It was just like, okay, there's a black bear. What am I gonna do? It was just nothing. So yes, bears, moose, all those. You see whales, you can see those too. So the amount of wildlife you can see from the side of the road is really gonna be second to none. Now for this next one, you're gonna have certain times of the year, specifically during the summertime, where you're not gonna be able to find a whole lot of people to help you with some stuff because the salmon are running and somebody's packed up their cooler and went down to the Kenai to fish over the weekend. And there are just going to be certain times of the year it's going to be more difficult to find people to get some stuff done just for that reason. Now, number 8 is because Alaska is such a small state and we only have a couple of larger airports, chances of you being on the same plane with a legislature or other high governing officials is actually going to be pretty high, especially if you've got to get on the plane heading to or from Juneau. Your odds of being on the same plane with a legislature, somebody you see on TV, it's going to be fairly high. So that's kind of cool. Number 9 is your chances of seeing a moose tied to the top of a car, like I'm not saying a truck, a car, are going to be fairly high or higher in Alaska than you're going to find in other places. Ask me how I know that. All right, last but not least, number 10 of the unexpected things about living up here in Alaska, or things you can only see from living up here in Alaska, is that at the 4th of July celebrations, most people save their fireworks and save that for New Year's instead of firing them off during the 4th of July. Now, the reason for that is because it's summertime in Alaska, it is bright, and you can't really see the fireworks very well, but you're obviously not gonna have that problem in New Year's when it is dark pretty much around the clock because it's right there during winter solstice. So this has been your list of the top things that only really happen here in Alaska. I hope you found it useful. If you do have any questions, do feel free to reach out to me, either on my Facebook page, Instagram, or feel free to reach out to me on my website as well and be happy to help as best I can. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.